Hey, what's up guys? In today's video, we're gonna be tackling down this fence. We bought a fifth wheel trailer, camper thing. We're gonna park it right here. We need this thing to go this way. So we're gonna build a thing. So let's go. So for the actual material of the fencing, I went with a cedar. Yes, it's expensive, but in the long run, I wanted to match the aesthetic of my backyard. And number two, I wanted to actually last longer without any kind of upkeep on it. So the overall distance opening on the trailer gates, I wanted to be 135 inches wide. That is a maximum setup that I can for my backyard. And the height was 73 inches tall. So that means with those kind of measurements, I would have about roughly 65 inches per gate. That's leaving about an inch on each side to actually open and close a lot easier. So I'm butt joining all the frames surrounding the two gates. The screws that I'm using are outdoor screws by Hillman. They're ceramic coated ones. They're specifically meant for deck screws. These were extra laying around the house, so I decided to use them. They work fantastic. I can't say anything bad about them. Typically I use Spax and they work incredible. I didn't have any, so this is what I'm going with. Make sure for the butt joints on the edges, you pre-drill the pilot holes. You don't want to split your lumber. Just to kind of little tips of the trade. Once I got everything all set up, I was ready to get the reinforcements in play. That way these things don't sag.
Hey. What are you doing? Are you watching? Are you learning? You better learn. Yeah. Are you gonna build too when you grow up? Mm-hmm. All right, make sure you learn a lot. You gotta work with your hands. Show me your hands.
Work what?
These are working hands. Show me your working hands. Those are working hands. All right, dude. Back to work.
All right, folks, let's talk reinforcement. Typically with reinforcements of these gates, to prevent them from sagging, you want a reinforcing piece that runs from the post side of the highest point clear across the entire gate towards the opposite end, lower side. This is your reinforcing piece that prevents your gate from sagging. Now, in my situation, I want to tackle two things. Make it aesthetically appealing, kind of like a farmhousey kind of look. And number two, give it extra reinforcement. So I'm going to do a double X reinforcement here. To accomplish this, if you don't have a protractor, here's the dummy way of doing it. Take your 8-foot board of the 2x4 cedar, lay it across exactly where you want that miter cut to go. Take a pencil, establish the markings, bring it to your miter saw, or just use your circular saw, establish that cut. Make sure it's nice and snug, that way the screws can actually tighten everything together. Now for the second X. With a second X, we don't need to waste the nice long material of stock that we already have, the cedar. Instead, I'm gonna use the scrap pieces and line it up exactly where I wanna make this cut. Now, I'm also gonna use a full 8-foot board just to make sure it's nice and straight. Establish those markings, bring them to my saw, establish the cut, make sure it's snug. Cut, make sure it's on the longer side instead of the shorter side. Again, you want this method to be snug, that way it'll actually reinforce.
Are you finally cleaning up my mess? Because somebody needs to take care of this. Are you gonna do it?
Yes.
Okay. Good luck.
For the actual post side, I didn't want to connect the post to the actual framing of my house, mostly because, as you can see here, I have some gutter running through. So I'm using a spacer block on the very top that's going to create an equal distance, but on the reinforcement part of the actual post. Make sure you drive it right into the framing of the house and not just the sheet of plywood that's on the end. For added support, I added another support piece behind the spacer block and then ran some screws through it. This is mostly to kind of limit the amount of sway that this fence could possibly have. For the actual fencing, I'm using the 1/2 inch by 6 inch wide cedar picket fencing. I decided to start the first two pieces on the outside edges that would be touching the actual post, mostly because the type of hardware I'm using is the exposed type of hinges. So I needed the hinges to actually attach through the cedar picket fencing. Once I got the two outside parts started, I then decided to start installing the hinges and then the fence itself.
All right, so I got two of the picket fences started on each side. That's basically where the hinges are going, so I need the hinges to go through them. These are 6-inch heavy-duty gate hinges that I'm using. I've never used them before. I don't know what they're rated for, but they said heavy-duty and they look pretty. So I'm gonna give them a try. I'll let you guys know in a couple of months how they do.
I will advise you, when it comes to installing these gates, have an extra set of hands nearby. For somebody to hold these gates, they are very heavy and it just is awkward to get them all lined up just right. So in my situation, I learned my lesson the hard way. And, you know, end of the day, the fence went up safely and I didn't break my back. So that's a huge win for me. And when it came to finally installing the remainder of the picket fencing, you could always use outdoor screws as well. In my situation, I have this handy dandy framing nail gun with 2.5-inch exterior nails that just kind of sped up the process of installing the rest of the picket fencing.
All right, guys, let's talk about a few things about setting the post. Very simple process. A couple of key things to know. Dig a hole that's at least 24 inches deep. Some experts might even argue about putting a post that's 1/3 of the distance of the post. Number 2, throw some gravel mix at the very bottom of the post. It allows for it to work as a drainage system, so the water doesn't get pulled up and knock your post out. It kind of drains and absorbs to the soil easier and quicker at the bottom. Number 3, you want to use a post that's actually pressure treated. You can go the other alternative method where you apply the pressure treated stuff yourself. It gets weird. Just spend the money, get yourself the pressure treated material itself. It's meant for moisture itself. And lastly, the type of mix that you can use any kind of concrete. They have the stuff that's a quick setting mixture from Quick Crate, and they specifically market it for posts. So what you do is you basically just dump the bag inside and then take a garden hose from the top, water it, and it tends to be kind of created for you not to have to mix it in the wheelbarrow and then dump it in, but kind of set it that way. It's my maybe 3rd time using it. You know, I like the stuff. It's really not bad. So, and then make sure lastly to use a level. Set a level, make sure it's not swaying one side or the other, and then put a couple of little support pieces, 2x4s, nail them or screw them to it, let them cure overnight, and then get to building. So, hope you guys find those helpful. Well, as you can see, the trailer fits perfectly in the side of my house. I couldn't be happier with how everything turned out. The gate looks and works fantastically. The little added wheel at the bottom is perfect condition for the slope terrain that's right outside this gate. Overall, everything turned out great. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure to hit me with a thumbs up, like, comment, and share it with your friends if you choose to do so. If you're brand new to the channel, hit that subscribe button right there if that's something that you guys are into. I don't know. We put our video out every single week, and we don't want you to miss a single one. Tune out this week. We'll see you guys next week. See ya. Bye.